Lightworkers, sit back and watch the greatest show on earth. And so today, November the 22nd, 2020, the Great Awakening continues. Good day to you, our dear holy representatives on planet Earth today. You who are great multidimensional spirits, you who came to Earth to help mankind break out of his fear-filled entrapment in the low third dimensional vibration. We are very pleased to connect with you in this very interesting time where humanity is in the process of waking up from his dream, from his third dimensional, low vibrating, illusional, painful nightmare. Indeed, this earthly human life is but an illusion, a nightmare, a passing deception. Yet it seems real enough to us who are living in it. It is the only truth that we know, the only reality that we can see, hear, and touch. It is said that we human beings are very powerful, and indeed we have the potential to be so. Yet here on Earth we are restricted as to our capabilities. Our great multidimensional self has not been able to exercise itself here. Only a small part of our great beingness is present. We have operated with only 2 of our 12 strands of DNA, and we have lived within the confines of the narrow understanding of the world that has been impressed upon us. Our controllers, that part of the divine, those fragments of consciousness that agreed to play the part of the devil, the part of Satan here on planet Earth, our controllers have indoctrinated us with the picture of the world that they wished us to have. Earthly life is so difficult because all that we see creates cognitive dissonance. That is, it creates inconsistent thoughts and attitudes in us. What we see around us does not correlate with what we are told. We are told that we are not clever or wise enough to look after ourselves. We need a government, an increasingly bigger government to look after us, to tell us what to do, to oversee our health, our finances, our morality, to oversee all facets of our life. And we are told that we are sinners. We must protect ourselves from each other. We must be protected by onerous rules and regulations from each other's wickedness. We are told our government is goodly and godly. Every 4 years, those vying for election as our representatives tell us that they will bring change for the positive. This time, if we vote for their candidacy, we will have those in power who have only our interests at heart. This promise for change for the better is all part of the great deception-perception, the illusional delusion under which we have lived. For each time new leaders are elected, every 4 years, things get tighter and tighter, and more constraining laws are passed. And we get increasingly stressed as the life blood is drained out of us, and our enthusiasm is dissipated in disappointment. Our puzzlement is great. How do we resolve the conflict between what we see and what is said? This, our dear ones, is where we are in the Great Awakening process at this moment in history. Hitherto, man has been in such a low vibration, such a painful life situation, so dumbed down by poisoned food and drugs, in such a nightmare of lack of understanding and bewilderment about human life, that he has not been able to think logically about his situation. And those few that managed to break through to a higher vibration, a higher frequency where love and clarity entered, those few were castigated by society, by their peers. And they were threatened with death, and many were murdered, to prevent them infecting their brethren with the truth of their indoctrinated entrainment into this prison planet philosophy. A great dilemma, indeed. And so mankind, that was deeply steeped in his earthly nightmare, could not break through to the truth of his imprisonment. He could not see how he was lied to. He could not understand that there was no justice. 4. Cognitive dissonance again. Justice here on earth wears a blindfold. If he went to court to obtain fair treatment, none was forthcoming. Instead, he became poverty-stricken in the process. Many, many innocent souls ended up in prison to pay for the faults of their controllers. This was a dilemma from which we had no escape, for the conditions were mutually conflicting. Everything was upside down. How could we innocents navigate through this situation? Everywhere he turned, what was said to be true was false, and what was said to be false was true. There was no clarity to be found. And mankind had been gifted with an ego. That ego integrated the thoughts, ideas, and morality that the controllers, by hypnotic suggestion and repetition, imposed upon them. And mankind had to negotiate his journey through this human life through the filter of the false understanding of the ego. The deception of the human journey is that humanity takes its ego thinking as his real personality, and thinking according to the dictates of that ego creates the reality of the individual in the hologram that is the planet Earth experience. Our controllers have taught us that what we see is what we get, and the best predictor of the future is the past. Not so, again, the reverse is true. We get what we think. Our thoughts create our reality and mold our world according to their direction. Oh, how confusing, how puzzling, how confabulating has been human life on planet Earth, until now. Now, dear brethren, now is the great, the grand, the wonderful time of ascension, of the awakening of mankind to the dream, the nightmare, the illusional delusion under which he has lived. This is a great time indeed. The low third-dimensional computer matrix, the low frequency that has upheld the deception, the government by the controllers, that low frequency is being taken down. As the great energy of the earth rises, as love is allowed to enter, so clarity sets in. Under these enlightening conditions, the controllers, the dark ones, can no longer function in their precious secrecy. Now their devious and deadly deeds must inevitably come to the light. This is just what is happening today. The cognitive dissonance, the inconsistency between the words and deeds of our government is being shown to us clearly. And as the controllers see that we are awakening, they are desperate to prevent this, and their deeds become more and more deviant from their words. More and more discrepancy between word and deed becomes visible. And so mankind, as the energy of love rises, as the control system shows itself, mankind is awakening. Those who plan to ascend at this time are beginning to see the truth of their entrapment in this human world. Great times indeed. How wonderful to be here on planet Earth in this turbulent and amazing time. To be here for the great revelation of the great deception is a fantastic gift. To watch with understanding and clarity the disintegration of the old power grid is marvelous indeed. It is a miracle. So, dear Lightworkers, our dear brethren, be at peace. Enjoy the show. Stay high in your radiant vibration. You need do nothing. You are here on Earth to shine your bright angelic light on mankind, and so to help lift planet Earth out of its low vibrating program. And you chose to come here at this time. Many, many wanted to come to watch the disintegration of the greatest show on Earth, the disintegration of the prison planet delusion. You were chosen. So now, sit back. Be the love that you are. Sit back and watch the show. There are revelations ahead that will surprise even you. You who have connected the dots of truth and seen the big picture of the planet Earth entrainment of schoolroom planet Earth. Even you will be amazed. It is great and glorious indeed, this great awakening. Mankind is at last returning to being his multidimensional self, to reclaiming his DNA, to being the grand and glorious divine being he was designed to be. And he is all the greater and more glorious, more loving and compassionate, more peaceful and full of joy for this human experience. Thank you, indeed. Thank you, Creator. That was Aita, channeling her higher self. We are blessed beings, indeed.